Welcome to Fuller Expectations, the podcast where we dive into topics like aging with confidence, navigating identity shifts, building new healthy habits, rediscovering purpose, health and wellness routines in midlife, and yes, maybe even money, retirement, relationships, and letting go of things that no longer serve you. I'm your host, Carrie Fuller, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. My hope is that our episodes feel like a blend of personal growth, real conversation, and gentle encouragement. We'll keep things honest, thoughtful, and practical. If you have not already, please hit follow so that our podcast can appear in your podcast library. We drop episodes every week, and we don't want you to miss it. And if you thought of somebody who might benefit by what you've heard today, please share this episode with them. And now let's get into today's episode. Hello. Welcome to Fuller Expectations. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today we have a topic that is so interesting to me. When I heard about the World Happiness Report, I was like, what is that? That's something that I had never heard of before. I don't know if other people have heard of it, but in this episode, we are going to talk about insights from the World Happiness Report and explore a very surprising trend. Well, surprising to me, and I know it's surprising to a lot of other people too. And that's the fact that younger generations today are reporting lower levels of happiness than older generations did at that same age. Many people in the second half of life are becoming more fulfilled and not less fulfilled. But the younger generation, there are some things that we need to pay attention to. So we're going to talk about that today. Why is this happening? And more importantly, what can we learn from it? And what can we do about it? The fact is, the power of relationships and purpose is huge. It's huge. And there's a cost to comparing ourselves with other people and everything that we see online today. The sad truth is people are feeling disconnected. In this episode, we're going to challenge how you think about happiness and show you how to create more of it, no matter what your age is. So for those of you who don't know what the World Happiness Report is, let's talk about that first. So this is an annual publication. It ranks countries by self-reported satisfaction and analyzing behaviors that influence global well-being. So I never heard of this before, but it's something that I think it's important. It was released in 2012 for the first time, and it was released following a United Nations resolution that encouraged countries to measure happiness as a complement to economic indicators like GDP. So what it does is it aims to provide policymakers with insight into well-being trends, highlight the causes of happiness and misery, and suggest ways to improve quality of life globally. So each edition of this report focuses on a specific theme. So for example, the 2025 report emphasized the impact of caring and sharing, while the 2026 report explored the effects of social media on youth well-being. Very interesting topic. But let's start with who's involved in the World Happiness Report. It measures subjective well-being by asking people in over 140 countries to rate their lives on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the worst possible life and 10 being the best possible life. It also examines correlations between happiness and factors such as GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make life choices, generosity, and perceptions of corruption. And some of the key findings from 2026, let's talk about where we rank as countries. Where is the US? I think you might be surprised. Let's talk about the first country, the happiest country. Finland remains the happiest country for the 9th consecutive year. 9 years. I've never been to Finland, but I can imagine it must be a beautiful place and the people must be so nice. So for 9 years, Finland ranks number 1 in the World Happiness Report. And then it's followed by Iceland, Denmark, Costa Rica, which achieved its highest rank ever at 4th place. And unfortunately, the US, we're not so far up there, you guys. Youth well-being has declined in the US and other English-speaking countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And this is largely linked to heavy social media use, especially among teenage girls. And something that seems quite obvious is that this report highlights that strong social connections and family bonds and equitable welfare systems contribute significantly to higher happiness scores. But one of the things that really concerned me about the World Happiness Report when I was looking into it a little deeper to do this episode was how individuals under the age of 30 years old are so unhappy. We're going to get into that today because if you have children that are under the age of 30, or grandchildren, or maybe you yourself are under the age of 30, this is huge. The fact that younger adults today are reporting lower levels of happiness than older generations did at the same stage in life. What's going on here? Why are we struggling more in the years that we thought would feel the most exciting? And how is it that the second half of life is quietly becoming one of the happiest chapters? This is what we're going to dive into today. So again, each year, the World Happiness Report ranks countries based on how people feel about their lives, not just what they have. It's not about material things. It's how they feel about their lives. And while countries like Finland and Denmark, Costa Rica, Iceland, they consistently rank at the top, the United States has been slipping. And it's not slipping for a year or two or three or even four, you guys. It's slipping over the last 9 years. Not because people don't have opportunities, because, this is the land of opportunity, right? It's because something deeper is missing. So this report looks at 6 key drivers of happiness, and those include relationships, health, freedom, trust, generosity, and financial stability. And the strongest predictor of happiness, this might surprise you, it didn't surprise me, but the strongest predictor of happiness is meaningful connection. It's not about success or productivity or achievement. It's about having connection with people and a sense of community. So one thing I find really fascinating is the generational shift, like we talked about before, and the fact that younger adults today reported higher anxiety, loneliness, and stress. They feel more pressure to succeed and less certainty about the future, and they're more likely to compare their lives to other people. Now, that doesn't really surprise me. I think even some of us adults compare our lives to other people with everything we see on social media and things like that. But I want to hover on the Americans and others in the world that are under the age of 30, specifically in the US, though, where our numbers just really rank low. The US, you guys, is number 24 as a country on the World Happiness Report. And the fact that individuals under the age of 30 are less happy than they ever been before, this is a problem. We think about, I'm in my mid-50s and I've seen so much change over time. I feel like the last 40 years, there's been so much change with the internet and email, these things we didn't have when I was growing up. And what that does for opportunity, it's been great. But the flip side of that is what it does with giving us more information and insight into the lives of other people than it ever has before. And what does that lead to? It leads to us looking at everyone else and seeing a glamorous life that they live, or they're beautiful, and look at the filters available on video and cameras today on our phones. Everyone looks perfect that you see online, but we have to know that they choose to show the perfect side of them, and it's not always real. But I think if you're under the age of 30, it's really hard, right? It's comparison. It's thinking everyone else has everything that you don't have. And the fact is, a lot of times, I said it before, it's just not real. So while older generations, especially those in midlife and beyond, are reporting greater emotional stability and stronger perspective, and even a deeper appreciation for relationships and for time, basically life and quality of life, when we look at happiness, it tends to follow what's called a U-shaped curve. So it's higher when you're younger, it drops in midlife, and then it rises again. But there's a shift with this going on right now over the last several years. And that is that early happiness, early life happiness, like those under 30, it's declining, which means that many younger people are starting off in the dip. So what does this mean? Why are younger generations struggling more than boomers did at the same age? I mean, there's obvious comparisons and key reasons for this. It's the world that social media has created. So when you're constantly measuring your life against someone else's, it's not good for you and it's not good for the way that you feel about yourself. It's the pressure to optimize everything. So it's, putting your career, your body, your finances, your relationship all out there for the world to see. And when you're not feeling good about some of those things and you feel like you don't have anything positive to share, it kind of puts you in a slump. It leaves the younger generation feeling like nothing is ever enough because there's always a better version of somebody else out there living at their age with more than what they have and all of that. So as far as the digital world, it's been really, really great in so many ways. But while we're more digitally connected than we ever have been before, we're less emotionally connected. So think about that. I mean, we can see it, the differences in the generation. So the younger generations are delaying milestones in life. They're not getting married as early. They're not buying homes. They're not financially stable. Many of those things, they're coming, but they're coming later. And this is creating uncertainty and stress in that younger generation. So if you have kids under the age of 30 or grandkids, or if you're under the age of 30 yourself, let's just pause and think about this for a minute. If you have kids, stop and have a conversation with them. See how they're feeling about life. With everything changing and AI taking over so many jobs and things like that, a lot of teenagers don't know what they want to go to school for or if they even want to go to school because they want to go into something that's stable and will offer them a future. But things just look so different in that regard. And this is one of the most important times of their life. They're getting ready for building a life for themselves. And it's pretty scary to do that today. So there's a few things that we can help each other do. We have to start by letting go, and that's letting go of comparisons, letting go of needing to feel approval of other people, and letting go of timelines, like where we think that we should have this by this date or do this by this date. Things like that. It's just not practical today. And we need to start leaning into what really matters. And that's relationships and having a life with meaning, whatever that means to you, and just plain old peace and quiet and calm. So while we realize that happiness isn't something that we chase, it's something that we create, a lot of people don't know how to create it today. So we need to figure out how to help each other out here. One of the things that I was reading about this, and it felt kind of sad, was there's a huge increase in the number of people that dine alone, especially over the past 2 decades in the US. And so the fact that people are increasingly on their own, especially dining alone, it leaves people feeling isolated. I mean, we just talked about one of the most important things is relationships. And for people that are constantly eating by themselves, maybe they live alone, I think what's truly important is that we all need to start leaning into what really matters. And that's focusing on relationships, having meaning in our life, like what is our purpose, finding out what that is and acting on it, and living a life that offers you like internal peace and just happiness inside of yourself. So whether you're in your 30s, 50s, 70s, it doesn't matter. Investing in relationships and finding purpose in your life is critical. And more importantly, realizing that happiness is something that we create. So there's some simple lessons that apply. And one of them is to invest in relationships like your life depends on it, because it actually does. And science shows that people that have relationships and a sense of community and friends that they talk to really increases your lifespan and your health span. We also need to stop waiting for that future moment to feel happy, like, waiting to buy that house or to buy that car or to get that job or for that certain milestone that you're just waiting for. Stop waiting and start to enjoy the moments that happen each and every day. Also, limiting comparison is stealing more from you than you realize. So if that's causing issues for you, maybe deleting the TikTok app or the Instagram app from your phone makes sense for you, because if you're looking at everyone else and it's making you feel worse about yourself, that is not doing you any favors. I think another really important thing is creating meaning through giving, not just achieving. So finding a nonprofit organization that's meaningful to you and volunteering for them, giving to people that are less fortunate than you, finding something that's greater than yourself and maybe making that better. That's something that's going to make you feel happiness inside of your own self. And I think just reminding ourselves that we have more control over being happy than we actually think. So if there's things that need to change in your life, stop and ask yourself, why am I not happier? Maybe the answer is prioritizing and creating a life that you really want. Because while the data is clear, the happiest people in the world aren't the ones with the most things. They're the ones who are most connected and most present and the most intentional about how they live their lives. And the beautiful thing with that is it's available to all of us right now. So no matter what chapter you're in, think about that. And also think about the kids in your life that are growing up in a really hard time. And while we might think that they have so many things that we didn't have and they are lucky and all of that, that's true, but think about the complications that caused them. Think about living with all of that. I mean, I'm thankful that I didn't have all of that available to me when I was growing up, because that would not have been good for me. So think about what you can do to help the younger generation in your life. Another thing to remember is that all of the countries were basically ranked on the same information, and Finland was number 1, Denmark number 2, Iceland number 3, the US number 24, and declining every year. Basically, what mattered most, no matter what country you lived in, was strong community bonds, work-life balance, trust in institutions, time in nature, and less emphasis on a hustle culture. So people aren't chasing more, they're protecting what matters. Some of the reasons why the US was lower than expected, it's due to rising loneliness, mental health struggles, decreased trust, over-focus on productivity and achievement, and that have everything mentality. But let's get back to what was number 1, and number 1 is relationships. It's the number 1 predictor of happiness. Again, it's not money, it's not success, it's deep, meaningful connections with other people. So everyone listening should just take away the fact that small acts of kindness matter more than you think. Generosity boosts happiness for both the giver and receiver. So I think if we all focus a little bit on gratitude, purpose, and giving back, we're all going to feel a little bit better. So as you think about your own happiness and the happiness of your children and your family, I hope you remember that being connected, spending time together, being present, those are the things that matter. Those are the things that bring happiness. Do a check-in with the people around you and those in your family and see how they're feeling. Maybe you can elevate their happiness score. Thanks so much for joining us today. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with somebody who might need it. And as always, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep creating a life that feels as good as it looks on social media.
Thanks for listening today. If this episode sparked something in you, please share it with a friend, leave a comment or a review, and reach out and let me know what resonated. Remember, no matter what age or stage of life you're in, you can pivot. And always remember, the second half of life is not a winding down. It's a waking up. Please follow or subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our podcast family. Let's keep showing up and being the best version of ourselves. Until next time, take care.